Hi, this is your real estate advisor, David.
And Sharon.
We're here this time to discuss the benefits of having a real estate professional represent you in a real estate transaction where you're either buying a home or selling a home. Now, I know that there are some people who choose to sell their homes themselves. They will put signs out that say for sale by owner because they don't want to pay real estate commissions or whatever. Um, the advantage of having a real estate professional when you're selling a home, because we'll deal with sales first. The benefit of having a real estate professional when you're selling a home is that we're going to sell your home for top dollar being the most that we can get for your home. Now, what are the considerations? The considerations are homes that have sold in your area for that have a similar configuration to yours that have sold for whatever the price that they've sold for. But we also have to take location into consideration, and we also have to take condition into consideration. So, for instance, your house may be identical to your neighbor's house that just sold. And so they may tell you, well, I was able to sell my house for 500,000. And so you're thinking, well, I'll just sell my own house for 500,000. But then you realize you can't get 500,000 for your house. And so you're like, well, if they got 5,000 for theirs, how come I didn't get 5,000 for mine? The difference could be the features in their house that don't exist in yours. Their house could have been newly renovated. There's something that has set their home apart from yours. Now, it doesn't mean that your home is going to necessarily value a whole lot less, but you're not going to be able to sell your home for 500,000 because it's not similarly situated as the house next door that sold for 500,000. So our job is to come in and evaluate and get the most for your home that we possibly can. And so we do a comparative marketing analysis. That comparative marketing analysis is based on comparables, similar properties that have sold. And like I said before, we examine condition and we examine location. Now, one of the things that you want to consider as well, when we list your home, we actually market your home. Your home is listed in the multiple listing services. It also goes out to all of the real estate websites. It also is marketed internally within our internal brokerages. It's also shared with agents from other brokerages. So there's a lot of exposure that your property gets right away. In contrast, when you sell it yourself, you basically put your sign on the lawn and say for sale by owner. So it's limited to those who happen to drive by or those who you happen to mention that you're selling your house. So you don't have as wider circulation or possibilities of selling your home as we do by listing your home and marketing it, because you don't have the access that we have to be able to market your home in the same way that we do.
Now, I want to say something about that too, David, because recently I was speaking to someone, and there are some companies out there that will offer to list your home for you, but you have to pay that money up front. And their listing isn't as wide as the MLS system, but and it's like a la carte package. Like they'll list it for this amount of time, or they'll do this or they'll do that, and each one is like a different tier, and you have to put money out for it.
Correct. Well, see, the problem with that is that, yes, Sharon is correct. There are some companies out there that have what they call real estate a la carte services. So basically, they'll do whatever you want them to do, but you have to pay them individually for everything that they do. Whereas with us, there's an agreed upon commission, and that's what we get. And we share that commission with an agent that brings a buyer. Okay? So once you put that out, that covers everything. So we don't keep coming back to you and nickel and diming you. Well, if we negotiate, you got to give us this. If we do that, no, we don't. All of that is set up front. But it's 6% commission. We give 3% to the buyer's agent. We keep 3% for ourselves. it's done. And you don't pay us any money until your house sells.
Right.
So you don't come out of pocket with
Up
any money
front,
to us
nothing.
until we get paid at closing. When your house sells and you get paid, that's when we get paid. So, we don't offer a la carte services. We do we handle the entire transaction for you. The other thing too is that there are sellers out there who have it in their mind that real estate agents will undervalue their property, because a lot of sellers have in their mind that their property is worth so much money. And the fact of the matter is that, generally speaking, the only person who agrees with you in terms of the value of your property is the tax collector. Okay, so we receive our commission based on sales price. So the more we get for your home, the more we make out of it. So it doesn't benefit us on any level to sell your house for less than what it's worth. So we're not out there trying to undercut you. We're not out there trying to sell your house for less. We're out there trying to sell your house for the most that we can. Because the higher price it sells, it's better for you, our client, and it's better for us. Because the higher the price of the house, the more we make out of it, the more you make out of it, and everybody's happy. So that's one very important thing that I want to point out. The other thing is that we put a lockbox on your property, okay? That lockbox is an electronic lockbox. We control who comes in, when they come in, how long they can come in. So in other words, let's just say that you say you want your house shown Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 12 noon to 6 p.m. We set the lockbox so that you can't access before 12 or after 6. We don't use contractor lock boxes because people will give away codes to other people. We use an electronic lockbox. You have to be a realtor and have a lockbox key in order to access. The other thing that we do is we try to make sure that whoever is seeing your house actually has the money to buy your house. So you don't have to put up with a lot of looky-loos just coming through your house. Which is another thing, when it's a for sale by owner, you don't really know who you're dealing with. You don't really know who these people are that are showing up at your house. You just getting somebody calling you randomly saying, I'm interested in seeing your house or whatever. You kind of show up to show it to them, but you don't really know who you're dealing with. In our case, we know who we're dealing with, and we know who's actually going in. We have a record of everybody that enters that property on that lockbox. So the point is that when we receive an offer from the buyer's agent, we respond to that offer. We discuss that offer with you. If that offer is agreed upon, we have you sign off. We basically do all the contracts, all of the paperwork. We do everything. We put together all of the paperwork for that transaction from a real estate perspective. We then submit all of that paperwork. Once we have an executed contract, we submit all of that paperwork to the closing attorney. We arrange closing and everything. So basically, we take care of the entire process for you from beginning to end. So that's part of the advantage of having us as agents. Also, you can consult with us. We represent you. So if you got any questions or concerns, you can call us, express those. If there's anything that you don't understand, we'd be more than happy to sit and explain it to you, go over different contracts with you, just explain everything to you in detail. From a buyer perspective, the reason why it's advantageous to have a real estate agent is because of the fact that you may be buying a house. It may be the first house you ever bought, or maybe it's the second house you ever bought. Because we've been in real estate for so many years, we've assisted many buyers in buying homes. We've assisted many sellers in selling homes. So I'm pretty sure that we've sold more homes than you have. We've assisted in buying more homes than you have. So that gives us more experience in both those processes than you have. So it's to your advantage as a buyer to have us represent you as well, so that we can review the contracts and things like that to make sure that the contracts are what's in your best interest. When you go into a subdivision, there's what we call an on-site agent. That on-site agent represents the builder. They don't represent you. Now, they're going to treat you fair, and we have a fiduciary responsibility to treat the customer fairly. So, I mean, I'm not trying to imply that, they're going to try and get over on you, anything like that. That's not the case at all. But if I'm representing you, I'm looking at those contracts. I'm seeing what extras I can have thrown in. Can we get an upgrade on appliances? I'm looking over the contracts. I'm letting you know if I see anything in the contracts that I don't think are in your best interest, that I can bring to your attention and say, well, maybe we want to think about this. Maybe we want to think about that. Maybe we want to examine this. Maybe we want to examine that. For instance, before you make an offer on a property, I may want to do a CMA on that property to assess the value, especially after we've seen it, because I see the condition, I see the location. Now I'd like to see what it's worth. You know what I mean? For myself, so that I can advise you as to what I think an appropriate offer is. And also, we are with you throughout the entire process. So we make all offers on your behalf. We conduct all negotiations on your behalf. We're with you from the beginning to the end. We're with you from the beginning of the process all the way through the closing. Same thing if we represent the seller. We're with the seller from the beginning of the process all the way through the closing. So you have our representation from start to finish. And if you are a buyer in Georgia, our services to you are of no charge to you. So there's no reason for you not to have an agent to represent you in the transaction, since our services to you are essentially free. At least that's how things currently stand. So those are just some of the reasons why it's beneficial to you to have us to represent you in that transaction. Plus, there's going to be a difference in how you're dealt with when there's another realtor in place, because the other agent is going to talk to your agent, and your agent is going to then sit and talk and communicate with you. So basically, I am the intermediary. That other agent is the intermediary for their client. And so I'm explaining things to you. I'm getting your input. You're telling me what you want to do, how you want to proceed. I'm advising you, but you're making the ultimate decision. And so whatever you decide to do is how we proceed. Okay? So ultimately, you as my client are ultimately the one in charge. But my job is to give you advice, as a client. Now, if you're not a client and you're just a customer, then my duties to you are what we call ministerial, which means I can show you properties, I can do things like that. The only thing is that I can't advise you because you're not a client. Okay? So for instance, let's just say I was listing a seller's home and what we call an unrepresented buyer was interested in buying. Unrepresented buyer means a buyer that doesn't have an agent. I could work with them, but I'd have to treat them as a customer because the seller would be my client. Okay. Now, I still have a fiduciary responsibility as a real estate licensee to treat the customer fairly. You know what I mean? But I can't advise them because I don't represent them. I represent my client, who is the seller. Okay. What this person really needs is an agent of their own, but they don't happen to have one. So therefore, when you don't have an agent of your own and you see another agent's listing, then you automatically somewhat become the client of that listing agent or the customer of that listing agent. So these are just some of the benefits and reasons why it's a good idea for you to employ a real estate professional when you're either looking to buy a home or looking to sell a home. Sharon?
Well, I feel as though you have basically covered the basics of it. One of the things I'm going to pull in is the emotional side of the selling. There's a lot going on when you're buying a house or you're selling. And starting with the selling side, I mean, this is your home that you've been in, and there's emotions attached. It's helpful to have someone who has an unbiased, unattached responsibility to you to help you in making decisions about your house. You may look at the house and, like David mentioned, say, well, the next door, yeah, they did have an updated kitchen. Hey, maybe I need to update my kitchen. And I will look at you and I'll look at what amount of money you're thinking about putting into this kitchen and what you're expecting to get out. And I can show you the data that will show you that you're not going to get that return on your investment. You would be better off if and this is part of our giving you expert guidance, you would be better off if that should come up as a point of interest to a buyer, you would be better off just offering a concession. It would be much cheaper than you trying to renovate your house and not getting the money back on it. Also, there could be other things that come up during the time of selling. You may need someone to open the door because the termite inspector is coming, or anything could happen. You have someone in your corner, which is your real estate agent, that you can call, and believe me, they will do everything in their power to help you out, to be there, or to get someone, maybe they have an assistant, to be there for you. So it takes a lot of the emotional strain off of it. You, as a buyer, you have someone who will objectively look at the house and remind you of what your objections were from the beginning, so you don't get tripped up in looking at this house and maybe settling for less than what you really want. You have someone to say, well, wait a minute, Miss Buyer, you said that you wanted this, so you didn't want that. We still have other things to look at. So that emotional help is important also, because as you're buying a home, everything else in your life is still ongoing. You still have a job. If you have children, you still have kids to take care of. You have your pets to take care of. You have things to do. And so now this additional project you're taking on of buying your home is going to bring its own set of demands on you. And in having a realtor, part of our job is to help you out. And we will. We do everything that we can to help you out. That's the only thing I'd add right now, David.
Okay. Now, one other thing that I want to say too, some of you out there who listen to this may say, yeah, I've dealt with real estate agents before and I didn't like them. I call them, they don't call me back. You may have negative impressions of real estate agents, but the real estate profession, like any other profession, you have those who are attentive, very good at what they do, and some who unfortunately aren't. But the only thing I would suggest to you is don't cast that cloud or that brush over every agent. Not every agent is the same. Unfortunately, if you have a bad experience with a real estate agent, it was that agent. Don't feel as though because I had a negative experience with that agent that means I shouldn't deal with any more realtors. There are a lot of very excellent realtors out there. There are people who take this profession extremely seriously. And so what I say to you is, regardless of how you feel or what your experience has been in the past, don't let that impede you from moving forward and using a real estate professional. Because believe me, I know of many thousands of agents that are excellent agents. Sharon is an excellent agent. I'm an excellent agent. There are agents that are really, really good at what they do. And most importantly, they care about the client. Because our job is to put your interests ahead and above all else. And so I don't want for any kind of negative experiences that you may have had in the past with a particular agent or whatever to discourage you from dealing with realtors. Because like I said, sometimes, there are people that for one reason or another, they make mistakes or they don't handle things quite as professionally as they should. But I don't think that should be held against the industry as a whole, because we do have standards. We're required to abide by real estate license law. We have, most of us that are realtors are also part of a board of ethics. So there's certain ethical standards that we must abide by. So the point about it is that there are checks and balances in our profession. You know what I mean? And so believe me when I tell you, the vast majority of the agents that you deal with are going to always serve you well. And so with that, unless Sharon has anything further to say, until next time, please, if you enjoyed this particular message regarding the need for a real estate professional handling your sales or buying transaction, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, leave us a comment. Let us know. Let us know what you think about the content. We're always looking to improve. So let us know what you think. Until next time, take care.